Good morning, traders. Today is Friday, January 14th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. All right, well, just starting the day, stepped out a little bit here, looking at the daily candles. Doesn't look good, right? Looks like that move that we had a couple days ago was actually just a dead cat bounce. It was a tricky one, man. I didn't think it was. At first, I thought it was, and then I thought it was a breakout. And obviously now, we cannot argue with the fact that it's a dead cat bounce. So coming into the morning this morning, it's pretty bearish. We had a spike down yesterday at the end of the day, which was a massive big spike down. And that was bearish in and of itself. But then that starts off the day today with what we call spike rules. And the spike rules tell us that the market opening below the spike is the most bearish scenario you could have. So that's a little bit bearish to see. And then on top of that, we have a gap down, which is a very large gap lower this morning. And large gaps are very hard to fill on the first day. And so with a big gap down on top of the spike rules, that's like double bearish. So what we're looking for this morning is a counter auction to the overnight inventory. When the market opens, we're looking for it to trade higher and try to fill that gap, try to work its way back up to yesterday's low at 46.42. If it can't get up there, market is open. So if it can't get up there and fully fill that gap, anywhere that it finds resistance inside of here is bearish for further downside continuation. But if it can get up to yesterday's low, get above it, come back down and find support, that would be bullish because we could be looking back into yesterday's range. All right, so same thing on the NQ here. Looking to fill that gap up to yesterday's high. If they find yesterday's low. If they find resistance there, that would be bearish for continuation lower. I wouldn't really get bullish on it. I would treat this area here right around the closing price of yesterday, the 15,487-ish area. I would treat that as if that was the low. So if they can get above there, come back down and find support, I'd be willing to go long. All right, well, so far it feels like resistance. They're trying to get up there and fill that gap, but they're getting a lot of resistance here. It's a little tricky with the overnight inventory being so net short. It's a little tricky to read the internals this early in the morning. You got to usually give them like a good 20 minutes to kind of settle in before they can give you a more clear read. But that is resistance. $80 people watching. Happy to have you. Welcome all 80 of you. Only 23 have pushed that thumbs up button, though. What do I got to do to get you to like the video? Don't make me sing. Not this early. You'll regret it. Good morning, Diego, Cyrus, TV, Arthur, the Shah of Iran back with us, Jason, Donkey. Donkey 2-year uptrend at risk today. Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean, this is messy looking on the daily. There's no two ways about it. Yep, I had that same channel drawn. Does look like an aging trend up here on a longer term basis, but if we went to the weekly. Doesn't look terrible on the weekly. All right, so this is the market absorbing some of that overnight activity. Can they fill the gap? Let's go look at the NQ. All right, so the gap is filled on the NQ, and right now we're getting resistance at yesterday's low. So that is bearish. Like I said, I'd change my mind on the Q if it gets above this 87 level and then comes back down and finds support there. But otherwise, there's plenty of resistance in here. All right, back to the ES. Nor Auto Trader, good morning to you. Mark, good to see you. Nicholas is here. Good morning. Greetings to you, Rev. MW, good morning. Scooball, hello. All right, looks like they're trying to get that gap fill. Trying to fill that gap. So again, that gap fill is to 46, 42.50, and then we'll look for resistance there. Cotton Dog, good morning to you. Robo Futures Trader, hi. Design Knob, morning. San Diego Trader, good morning to you. Up early. Overlord 3000 back with us. Good to see you. Interesting overnight activity, he says. Yeah. They had a really, really hard time trying to get price above that spike in the overnight. Could that be foreshadowing what will happen today? We shall see. All right, that gap is almost filled now. A few more points. Then we're looking for some resistance. Jay Trader, good morning to you. John back with us. Good to see you. Jitna is saying bearish. Danielle back with us. Good morning to you. Saying it's heading to that 100 moving average. David V in the house. Good morning. Am Gossel back with us. Good to see you, brother. Welcome. Big Ray, good morning. Cotton Dog, is the 100 daily SMA in play? My instincts tell me it is. That would be a pretty big drop for today. But yeah, that would be the next stop if this trend line breaks. So we had a 2% move down yesterday from where price currently is to that 100 is 1.2%. So that is well within range. But the first thing we got to do is get some resistance at yesterday's low. That's step one. All right, they're going to take another stab at it. The internals are starting to give us a clue here. Obviously, they look bearish. They're having a hard time getting the ticks above the zero line on both indices. So this, to me, is one of those moments where price is playing a trick on you. You're watching price push higher, but you're not realizing that it's pushing into weakness. Ronald, good morning to you. Welcome. Screwball, I'm just getting to this question now. I mean, you asked this a while ago. What is bullish from now? Like I said, for me, it would be getting above this node, both indices, getting above the node from the overnight, and then coming back down and finding support there. So on the ES, that would be around the 46.54 level. And on the NQ, well, we're above it now. Okay, so great. We're looking for support in this node on the overnight from the NQ. That's between, say, 15,486 and 15,510. Looking for support there. That would be bullish. Diane, great question. What time do I use for my gap? Yeah, so I use the M period, which is like the 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. That's my close. So it's a good question. If we included the runoff period, no, it still would have been the same level. One tick to the gap fill. Here we go. All right, and they filled it. So now we can recognize getting resistance if the ticks keep getting slapped below the zero line. They just can't get above there. That would be a sign that the sellers are starting to pile on at yesterday's low. So that's what I'm watching for now. Amir, good morning to you. Nunez, would you consider going short before the gap close if we don't get it today? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously now we've already got it, but if the market fails to fill the gap, if we'd have opened and then found resistance like right here, and the market couldn't get any higher, that you want to short. You know, once you realize the resistance is there, you want to get short because it'll often push away pretty hard. That is what we call a gap and go. This scenario here also still a gap and go. It still counts if they hit that gap, but then find resistance right there. That's still very bearish. So this is where the bulls need to step up. They need to get the ticks above the zero line. They need to get the price up above that node from the overnight to prove themselves. Looks like the NQ's heading up towards its 20 moving average on the 15-minute candles. Should be some resistance in there. So it'll be another sign of bullishness if it's able to push through. Trading Donkey, hope all you people with money are starting to think about shopping lists for the long-term shares and year-plus long call options. Yeah, market's on sale. If it were Macy's having their Labor Day sale, you'd be in there buying something. What are you buying now? What companies have gotten way oversold. All right, getting resistance at yesterday's high still. Donkey listing some examples here of some tech that's been slaughtered. Anybody else got any tickers? What are you looking at these days? Share with the community. What stocks interest you at these price levels for the long-term portfolio, for the retirement account? No one's looking at any stocks. All day traders here, as it should be. All right, resistance once again at yesterday's low. J Trader, NVIDIA, and AMD. There you go. Those are some good ones. Dogecoin for the long-term portfolio. Still getting that resistance. Let's take a look at those ticks. Can they get them above the zero line? Nope, not yet. Resistance. Nunes, they're getting resistance, but they poke at it. That is true. It gets weaker and weaker with every poke. But they got all this they got to work through from the overnight. They got to get through all that. Like I said, then come back down and find support before they'd get me long. The NQ looks like it's doing that, though, as it starts to break through its 20 moving average. Yep, got above that node, came back down, found support. So I'd say the Q is bullish to push up into the POC area. 15, 6, 36. Looking for resistance there. Donkey says, I'm short, but getting a little concerned. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of resistance. I wouldn't be too worried yet. They got to get through all this. But if they do, yeah, I'd get out of that short. Jitten says, when do they kill the market? It appears to be one big squeeze. Well, on the Q, the bulls are taking over. So if they can get those ticks above the zero line, they can get some continuation. But yeah, the ES is yet to be proven for sure. Scooball, what do you think about getting long when they find support at the top of the gap? I think it's fine for a fast trade in this particular scenario. So like the first time we pushed into yesterday's range and then came back down again to buy down here in the support would be fine. But I would just recognize that there's resistance in here. And so I'd be ready to take my profits very quickly. Wouldn't want to fall in love with that trade. Nunez, I sense some fake out coming, just don't know in which direction. I am 100% certain you're right. But also agree, don't know which way. But this is the market that loves to get you convinced it's going to do something and then instantly change its mind. All right, well, the initial balance is to the upside. That's a little bit bullish. right, well, it appears the bulls couldn't quite make it work. Couldn't get those ticks up there. So that has me feeling bearish. So to change my tune and to get me to look for long trades, they'd have to once again get above that that node from the overnight and then come down and find support. Until then, this feels like they're going to test the lows. Because they don't have the buyers. So potential support, the support that we just created earlier on in the day, just above the halfback here, between 46.3450 and 46.38. We get through that, we look for continuation lower. How would you manage a long trade now? I'd put a stop loss just below the halfback. If I was in a long trade, I'd put my stop right there. Call it 46.3250. Because if the market doesn't find support right here, it's going to pull back down all the way down to here. And then that becomes, this is still considered a gap and go. Because it found resistance right around yesterday's low. So it's pretty bearish. Last chance for support right in here. Will the buyers show up? They could. But I don't think so. Hey, no. No. Hey, no. Sardinha, all the way from Brazil. Welcome. Happy to have you. Jit Baxter? The bad man threw Baxter off a bridge. Steven, another great quote. What's that, Baxter? You ate a whole wheel of cheese and pooped in the refrigerator? I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. So I do think it's going to be the ticks that are going to be a good indicator here today. If the bulls are going to be able to break through here to the upside, they're going to need to get these ticks above the zero line and keep them above the zero line. But if every time they try, they keep getting smacked down like this, we're setting ourselves up for another push lower. I remain bearish, like I said, until we get above this node from the overnight POC. Oh boy, Donkey, making that one again? Donkey saying boring rotational day, go outside. Then watch, we have a massive 2% sell-off. Nunez, so is the tick a leading indicator? Ticks stay below zero despite the price pushing up. Then it runs out of steam and goes back down, question mark? Yeah, leading indicator is kind of like a tricky term. I would almost call it like a real-time indicator. It's like, so some people, they look at the ticks, they have each candle represent like 1 minute or 5 minutes to kind of watch how the market moves up and down throughout the day within the ticks. I like the 15-minute candles because all I really care about is where is it currently. Is it currently above or below the zero line? And is it creating a trend over like a sort of longer term basis, which the 15-minute candles give me that sort of range. But anyway, yeah, so I wouldn't call it like a leading indicator. I would call it a like real-time indicator of what's happening right now at this moment. But that can be very valuable if you're at an important, spot like this where the market needs to break through resistance. They can tell the tail. So like I said, the tail they need to tell is they need to get above the zero line, which they have, and they need to stay above it now. So as it pulls back down, it needs to find support and then push up again. That's a sign of new buyers stepping in. But it got slapped down once again. It's a great t-shirt. I don't want to be right. I want to be rich. Jesus Christ, JP Diamond. JP Diamond, JP Morgan's CEO is saying he's expecting 6 to 7 rate hikes. It's interesting how the news always seems to get bad at the most critical moments for the market. Okay, so it looks like those ticks are failing again. Still can't get above that zero line. That's just a sign that there's not new buyers. Not yet. Actually, NQ's doing it, and NQ's a bit stronger than ES. Interesting. So Donkey's saying JP Morgan's earning call this morning was super bearish, basically saying inflation is out of control and it's going to crush margins. Oh boy. All right, well, looks like the buyers are trying to take another stab at breaking through this resistance above. Can they keep those ticks above the zero? Can they do it? Doesn't look like it. Nunez, ticks can't get above the zero line, but the price doesn't budge. Tricky, tricky. Yeah. It'll be tricky if the price breaks through and then the market gets bullish and we start to retrace yesterday's range. Then I would call it tricky, tricky. But if the market gets resistance here, turns around, gets below halfback, and then has a sell-off, it will look like it was really easy to see. You'll be able to look at the ticks and be like, oh, look how obvious that is. Like it couldn't get up there. Nunez is short. Yeah. You don't want it to break through that resistance then, which it's doing. So I'm back to neutral now. That they're getting through the resistance. I guess they haven't quite gotten through it yet. Like I said, I think it's a safe guess that the NQ will visit its POC from yesterday, 15,637. Looking for resistance in there. If it gets through that resistance, this node right here, the next stop will be backfilling the single prints left behind in the F period. Again, this is on the NQ, 15,724. If they get through that resistance. Ow! Slap down again. So for a tight stop loss on a short, I'd be looking just a few ticks above where the price stopped this last time in the B period. I'd say like 46.58. For a loose stop above the single prints there, so like 63 on a short here. And like I said, if they get up into that area and come back down and find support, I'd be looking for a long in this node. Man, textbook, every single tick slapped back down below the zero. Ain't no buyers in resistance. Do, do, do. Lamus, good morning to you. Welcome. So now this node should start to act as resistance. The node that was support, if we're going to get a sell-off here, should now become resistance around 44.50. So as we push back up into it, do those ticks get smacked down again? Back to bearish. Flicked the switch a little too quick. So same as before, the last support for the market is this little node right above the halfback at 46.35-ish. If that support breaks, we'd be looking for a bigger pullback here. Probably heading down to test the low. Remember what I said about how after the fact it'll be so easy to read? You'll be seeing that resistance right on the 20. Resistance right at the 0 lines. You'll see the bearishness and the internals. It'll be so easy to read after the fact. So the skill of reading the internals is learning to recognize these things in the moment and trust them. All right, testing that last support. Okay, that support is starting to break, which is bearish. Donkey saying, seems like everybody's ready for a drop, meaning it's probably not happening. Yeah, you really think we're going to get that rotational day, don't you? Design now, Captain Hindsight over here. Nor Auto Trader got his money back from yesterday. Happy to hear it, brother. With interest. John Q, is FOMC speaking now? Nope. Market just cannot break back up into yesterday's range. And that's getting people scared. So keep in mind, there's a lot of buyers trying to defend this area just above the halfback here. And what happens if this breaks? What are all those buyers going to do? Probably going to exit their trades pretty quick. So we're testing the one time framing here. Are we going to get a trend? We are not. So that increases the odds of sideways rotation a little bit. But like I said, we should start to squeeze some of these buyers and get some little pops lower here. Looking for support around the opening price. 46.17. Come on, buyers, get yourself squeezed now. Let the new buyers with stronger hands buy it. Come on, weak hands, get yourself squeezed now. Oh, donkey, too soon, young Padawan. Too soon, I say. All right, well, with that, I'm going to bid you all farewell. I thought that was going to cause a bit of a quick sell-off there, that we broke that support, but still just keeping an eye on those ticks. Do they struggle? Do they continue to struggle to get above the zero line? If so, we'll head down there to test the lows. See if we have support down here. And there is potential to go rotational here. Yesterday's move combined with the overnight's a lot of excess, so we might just rotate sideways here. So if we do start to find support around that node around the opening price, 46.18-ish, I would be willing to go long in there for a rotation trade back to the POC. But if not, if there's no support there, monitor for continuation lower. We still have a gap that needs to backfill to 45.63. So that would be the target if we break the overnight low. Good luck. Happy trading. Enjoy your weekend. I appreciate you spending just a little bit of your time this week with me. Did I steal that from Peter Resnicek? I think that's a Resnicek term. Yeah, and we'll see you all Monday morning right here on the YouTube. Members of the Brigade, I'll see you in the private stream. Ba-da-ba-ba-da.